Hello, and again, welcome to Bit Depth. I'm Santiago Ramones. Across from me is...
Stefani Heller.
Hi.
Hi.
How do we know each other?
We have gone to school together for a while, actually, but I didn't actually know you until we started passing each other out of Patrick's office.
Yeah.
Yeah, we both take lessons from the great Patrick. He's the all-knowing, I've learned.
I'll have him on eventually.
Yeah, he's an incredible guy.
But he's also incredible at making lessons way too long, and that's why we keep running into each other.
Yeah, he told me there would be 30 minutes, and they've turned into like an hour and 15 minutes, which I can't complain. I'm learning so much from him, but no time for lunch in between anything.
Yeah. But yeah, so we haven't, I don't think we've had any classes together, though.
If we did, it was not this year.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. I got a bachelor's degree before I came here, so I was upper classes was immediately when I came in. So I was with a lot of older students, and I've kind of worked my way backwards on accident. So now I'm with freshmen on my way out instead. It's so weird. I'm like, Brenda? She did that to me.
Yeah. All right. So for starters, what do you do?
So right now I work with music business and music production. That's where my heart really is. But the business side of things is just so much fun because I get to go out and do shows and manage and actually be a part of it. I love production though because I kind of like being alone a lot in the studio and I have complete control there. So I do both. I produce and engineer on several EPs. We're about to drop one actually in January.
Whose?
Madison Keithley.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited about hers. It sounds really, really good. A producer that works with me at the label is actually engineering the final touches right now.
Yeah.
And then I tour manage for several artists around here. So that's the funnest part of my job, not necessarily the easiest. But yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome. And then, I mean, you yourself make music. We both take composition lessons. So what is the music that you make?
I don't like calling myself a beat maker. I think that's like not the term to use. I started music as a performer. I play saxophone. So when I create music, it's more orchestra, symphony stuff, which is why Patrick is incredible. And I incorporate saxophone, which isn't really normal in that setting. And I incorporate hip-hop beats in it. So
cool.
It's a weird combination, but I think it's just different enough that it stands out. Yeah. So that is what I do when I'm completely on my own, doing my own thing. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I don't show a ton of people the stuff because I'm still nervous about it, but I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's still growing into its full potential.
Well, I'm sure many people would like to hear it anyways. So which of these things is sort of what you consider like your main thing?
Management for sure.
Okay.
I work really, really, really hands-on with the artists that I am associated with, and it's very much personal, financial, and business. So when I say I'm their tour manager, I also am their financial manager and their friend and their mom and everything else. So managing is just easier and funner for me, which a lot of people would hate it because they don't want to deal with money and they don't like numbers and they don't like being yelled at. And they don't like dealing with, promoters and stuff like that. I see it as kind of a learning opportunity and a networking thing. Yeah. I don't ever want to be a promoter. I've learned very quickly that is the least amount of thing that I want to do ever. But I like working with them, and they have a lot of say in what goes on. So, I mean, just the networking part, that's, for sure my favorite. And if I had a choice, if I could give up everything else, I would definitely be a manager.
Yeah. How did you get started?
So my best friend is Rosalind Zora, and she didn't have a manager, and I was already kind of her wingman on everything. She was kind of asking me for advice on stuff, and she was just like, do you want to be my manager? And I was like, sure, not knowing really what the term meant.
Yeah.
And I learned really quickly that there's a lot of responsibility. And once things kind of started going off and we started traveling to LA and doing, a few different states, several other artists were like, hey, I see that you guys are doing that. Is there any way you can make that happen for me too? And now I have a few more artists that, rely on me heavily, and it's nerve-wracking sometimes because if I make a wrong move, I'm like, but yeah, she's the one who started it all. I owe a lot to her. Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. I need to have Rosalind on as well.
Anytime. She loves stuff like this.
Yeah. So then what is sort of one thing that as you fell into it really became a passion of yours?
A passion. I think that a lot of people, especially at the level that we're working at, they aren't making a ton of money, you know, and there's a lot of people that overlook us. And there's a lot of, there's so many people that make music in their bedroom, and there's so many people that can just, you can press a button and you have a masterpiece, So I think that I've become really passionate about keeping people in love with their craft.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people lose sight of, they're like, well, if I make, a lot of my hip hop artists say this all the time. They say, I have to make songs about girls and money because that's what people want to hear.
Sure.
And I'm like, well, what do you want to say? Because it's your song and it's your voice. And a lot of them have just fallen victim to what everyone wants to hear.
Yeah.
And it's become like an extreme goal of mine to convince them to kind of stay true to themselves, even if it's just one song per EP or something like that. I just think that there's just been a lost art of keeping it true and to what you believe in and what you really have to say, because music is about all of us relating to each other, and you can't relate to drugs and money unless, unfortunately, if you're a part of that. But most of us aren't. So unless it's rare, that's what I'm saying. So I'm more likely to play a song that makes me fall in love for years than I am to listen to something that I would only play on a Friday night. So
sure. Yeah. How has the modern age of social media and sort of self-promotion sort of altered your position? How has it been in the past, and then how is it now in the modern age whenever you're starting out?
It's hard because obviously I'm really young. I wasn't really a part of the world before social media, but from what I have, gathered, it was a personal relationship between everyone. And I think that that's really cool because we have street teams. And now if you see someone on the sidewalk handing out CDs, you either run away quickly or you get it and throw it away and stuff like that, when previously that would have been a big deal.
Yeah.
And now if you don't have, 1,000 to 50,000 followers, people are like, oh, they must not be very good. And I think that that's a really poor indication of talent.
Yeah.
Because I know that I don't have that many followers, and I really hope that no one looks over the talent that we do have. But yeah, I think it's made things really difficult for artists. It's made it a lot more competitive.
Yeah.
And I know I own a label, and I talk to other labels from LA all the way to Atlanta, and every single label says the same thing. If you don't have the followers on social media, we will not sign you. They will not even look at you.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily that way because I'm not. We're not big enough to do that. We can't do that. But I think that's kind of sad because. We could have people performing Sunday through Sunday, and they have all the credit in the world, but they may not even have an Instagram.
Sure.
And if you don't, then, you're just out of the major labels, and I think that's
right.
That's kind of tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's even artists that, and not even just musicians, but actors and just famous people that have no idea about how to use social media. I heard a story recently that someone was somehow ran into George Clooney and had like lunch with them. It was a weird story on a podcast, but
sounds like a dream, honestly.
But apparently George Clooney and his wife don't really know anything about social media.
Yeah. Yeah, and they actually, don't they have children or something?
I think so. I don't know.
Well, they're going to find out really soon about social media. Well, no, I know that that's one thing I will say. It has created a job opening because George does have social media and he has people running it.
Exactly.
So that's the only positive thing that I can say about it in the industry. It has created a job for someone or multiple people. But yeah, no, a lot of them don't even know what is going on. Like, I don't even think Kevin Durant knows what's going on. Do you remember that?
I'm not sure.
Well, he has multiple social media accounts apparently and accidentally tweeted from his main social media, and it was defending himself, which didn't make sense unless it was supposed to be on it. But, yeah, I mean, he got drilled for that. So that's just another thing. And if you are famous and you do have that check next to your name, people are watching, and it's so dangerous to actually speak your mind and do stuff. So that's, yeah, I don't want a blue check.
Right. But then how has it helped you in what you do?
Well, I have a lot of people. I travel a lot. From country to country, state to state, and I can meet people one time. And then, I may not ever see them again. It's not that I don't want to, but, and those are potential people that can now stay in my life. Whereas previously, they may not have been able to.
Right.
So now they can stay updated, and because the label page that we have, people are finding out about events and stuff like that. And I think that's the coolest part about Facebook, which I know a lot of people don't use Facebook anymore. But I do. I think the events that come up and stuff like that, I think that that's absolutely brilliant because I don't know about shows all the time.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not looking at flyers. But, if I get invited to an event, I for sure see it. And I think that's the best part, for sure.
Yeah. So then I guess... I know I keep asking very difficult questions, but how do you sort of make yourself known as an artist?
Oh, this is difficult. What I'm going to say is play more shows, but because I am in the position I am, I know it's hard sometimes to get shows.
Yeah.
My best advice is if you don't have a show, go to someone else's. Because everyone there is supporting music. Yeah. No matter what, if they're a fan, if they're performing, if they're just a part of the entourage, it doesn't matter. They're all there for the movement. Yeah. So if you, that's my thing. If I don't have a show that night or one of my people don't have a show, I'm somewhere. Yeah. Because if you support people, they'll support you. And here, especially in Oklahoma, it's not this way in the bigger cities, but here, especially in Oklahoma, we all thrive together. And we are all interconnected. I've been in the hip-hop community. I've been in the alternative community, and the same people are going to the same shows. Yeah. So if you the fan base just as much as you know the artists. And I think that that's awesome. And I think that it's great that we do have a solid group that follows everybody around. And I think that if you go and you meet people in the crowd and don't necessarily walk up to them and be like, hey, I have a show, come see it. If you just talk to them and just be like a normal person, they will ask you what you do. And then you just take it from there. But that's the most important part, I think, is supporting other artists and helping each other.
Yeah, definitely. And then, of course, because artists are artists, they don't think about money very much, but they still need it. So in this day and age, it seems so weird, but how do you make money off of music?
Well, this is why I do 16 different things in the industry. I can play. I can book shows. I can, I can settle shows. I can manage people. I can record them, produce them.
Right.
That's the way. You cannot just be a singer. You cannot just be a rapper. And I think our generation has got it kind of easy because you can do all of that.
Yeah.
From your laptop. And if you can't, there's an app for it, so it's easy. But that is, the more versatile that you are, the more money you're going to be able to make. But touring and songwriting, those are the two money makers in the industry right now. I cannot songwrite to save my life, so that's where I do fail a little bit. But I know that touring, because it used to be you toured to sell the record, and now it's you make the record to sell the tour. And so that's a huge flip in the industry. And now if you're on tour, your merch, stuff like that. So I think it's really important to have a really good graphic designer behind you. Yeah. And I think that being on tour, and like I said before, it's hard to book shows, so that can be a little difficult. But writing your own material, or at least being a part of that process, that's a huge way to make money. Yeah.
And then there's also the nitty-gritty about publishing and rights and copyright and
the loopholes that come with it. Yeah.
So how does one start to go, well, I made a thing. Now what?
So I believe it's BMI. That's what a lot of my my artists are signed for. And, it was funny. I heard a student one day say, I just got signed to BMI, and people thought it was a record label, and they were, like, really happy. And I was like, whoa, okay. But, yeah, so that's a really good way to keep control of it so that they pay you your royalties. And going through that third party for iTunes and stuff like that, like CD Baby and stuff like that, I think that they're pretty good about keeping royalties in the right place.
Sure.
Which it hasn't always been that way if you look up the history. But yeah, signing with, Sony has publishing deals and rights like that. And that's the first thing I do with my artists is I get them signed to BMI or Sony.
Yeah.
And
I'm on ASCAP.
Yeah, there's also that, which I've never used that program, but I've heard really, really good things about it. And I had an artist that came in that was already signed to it. So I think that's really the only way to do it, other than have like a really good legal team.
Sure.
I'm not going to pay for that, so that's.
Yeah, and then I think that I think it's becoming a little bit more well known, but I think a lot of people don't know that artists don't make very much money now off of selling their music.
Yeah, which is crazy because I believe it's Spotify, and I could be totally wrong on this. Please don't quote me. I think it's 0.5 cent per download. So, I don't remember whose album it was. It was like Kanye or something like that. But he released an album and it had billions of plays, and he only made $33,000.
Yeah.
So that's insane to me.
Yeah.
And then that's also why the industry's so upset that CDs are gone.
Yeah.
Because they were producing CDs for like 55 cents and they were making, $20.
Yeah.
So now it's very difficult. Physical music like vinyl and stuff like that is still where the money is. It's just people don't really want to. I love vinyl. I will buy it every day. But, unless you're buying the CD or the vinyl, the money isn't going straight to the artist. And that's why if I have a favorite artist or a friend or anything like that, I always spend the money. Yeah. But, yeah, and this comes back to the merchandise.
Yeah.
That's a huge way. And that's also where people are. I've seen it so many times when we go to big concerts. Like Chance the Rapper, he had a shirt and it was like $60. And people were just appalled.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, but
He has to make
this is why. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this brings me on to my favorite subject of my all-time hate for scalpers. And, I was like, my Chance the Rapper's tickets were $55 because I bought them day of. Well, the people that sat next to me at the concert paid $300 a ticket.
Oh, jeez.
Because they had been bought and sold again.
Yeah.
So, you think you're paying a ton of money for the concert ticket. The artist, the most expensive ticket as of 2016 that is sold on the market is $114. And it was like, how do you say, Andre Bocelli or something like that?
I don't know.
He's really good. I know his music. I just don't know how to say his foreign name. But his tickets were like $114, and that's the most expensive ticket you can buy.
Yeah.
But to go to Justin Bieber, you have to spend like $2,000.
Sure.
So it's, people, there's a lot that, consumers outside the industry don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge frustration for all artists inside the industry because everyone's like, but please pay, but I think it's going to get worse the way that technology is advancing.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot to prepare for because there's no telling what's going to come out next.
Yeah.
And I just hope that at some point things turn around.
Yeah.
And artists do start making money because people love music. And I think that as long as people love something and the art is there, then people should be making money for it.
Yeah. Not to like put you on the spot, but what do you think would be a good solution for making sure that artists do make money off of what they do?
Like a realistic thing or something that just...
I think it's something that you hope for.
I wish, I can go back to the ticket thing. I wish that it was treated like kind of retail is. Like if you buy a shirt, you return the shirt and then somebody else can buy it. I feel like the name that's on the ticket, if it doesn't match, then that person shouldn't be able to get in the concert. So if you buy a ticket and you can't go, then you should return it and let someone else buy it. And that's a completely unrealistic thing, and I know that's probably never going to happen. But if that did work, people would save money, the artists would get everything, and concerts wouldn't be so, unattainable.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's because the names are on the tickets, and it would take longer to ID everyone and all of that, but there are ways. I think that it would be worthwhile to invest in something like that within the industry because that is such a bank robbing thing, and it puts a really bad image on the industry as a whole. So that would be my suggestion. It's probably not a very good one, but it's mine.
Yeah. Who are some local artists that you think are like big time level good?
Oh man, if I tell you all this, they're gonna get a big head. I'm gonna go by genre. I'm gonna give you one from each. I think within the hip hop industry, the person that would that's got the most unique voice and the amount of talent that it really takes is Trip G. He's incredible. He's a lyricist, not a mumble rapper, which is my favorite part of his little thing. But he's really humble, and I think that's half the battle.
Yeah.
He's grown so much as a person, even since I met him in January. He's like a little old man in a young boy's body, and he's got the story to tell, and he's got the ability, and he's got the attitude, and he's making the connection. So I really think that he's got it, and I can't wait to see where he is because, just even in this year, I've seen so much happen for him, and he deserves everything, And so I really hope the best for him, and he can be super annoying sometimes to me, but I think that's just because he's a really good friend. But that's my hip-hop pick. And, of course, Rosalind Zora. I'm going to pick her for my alternative. She's incredible. And she's hilarious because she'll walk up and she'll just be like, "Hi, my name's Rosalind." And then you hear her sing, and it's like, whoa, and I think that's a wow factor, and you need an edge like that, especially in her genre. And she's got kind of a raspy, gritty voice, and I think that's so raw. And a lot of artists are so blended together because all their voices sound the same.
Exactly.
And I think that hers is just so unique, and she just stood out a lot to me. And it's not because she's my best friend that I'm saying all this, but she's also a very incredible person. And I think the best part about her is she's so headstrong, and she knows exactly what she wants. And if she doesn't get it, she'll fix it.
Yeah.
And, as her manager, that's really hard because, some days I'll have ideas and I really think that they're good, and she'll be like, okay, and then I'll turn around and it's different because she's never going to say anything to, like, tell me no.
Sure.
But she's going to do it her way. And so, but I have a lot of respect for that because I don't want to take over anyone's career. And, we work together really well, and that's a huge compliment to her to be able to work with people and go after exactly what she wants. And I think that's awesome. Who else? What other genres can I go with? I think, and for pop singers, Sierra Brooke.
Oh, yeah.
She's incredible. She's so tiny, and
she's an epic voice.
She's got it going on. She's got everything going on. She's so funny, and she's so sweet. And I think this just like goes to show I only work with good people. They can be super talented too. That's awesome. But but she's super great. We just started working together recently, actually, and it's been so fun. Yeah. And she gets so many compliments, and the more I hear about her story and her past and her music ability, she's really impressive.
Yeah. And I've worked with her. I was co-producing something recently with her. She's been on the podcast, and just everything she makes. She just makes, like, every one of her songs can be a hit. Yes. Really.
Yeah, so easily. And it's a gift. Like, I would never be able to do anything like that. So it's nice. It's just easy to just sit back and watch her do her thing. Right. And she nails it every time. And I think another artist that I've never worked with her, but I know her music really well. And she's so incredibly kind to me every time I meet her. Linka.
Yes.
I think she is awesome. Yeah. And I think that it's so cool that she has stuck true to, the culture and the movement. And it's a hard, route to go down because you never know, what's gonna happen with that. And it's not mainstream. And I think that that's the coolest thing. I think that, and her band is super diverse, and everything that they stand for, I just think is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And and she's really talented, and she's really making some big moves in the city.
Yeah, definitely.
And I guess everywhere else, too, because they just got off tour. And I know she was telling me about it, and they were going to make a promotional video for it, and I can't wait to see it. So those would be my locals that I really, really like.
And then I usually ask for advice at the end of the show, but I guess I'll do advice specifically for artists that are starting out. What advice do you have for an artist that's starting out?
Ooh. A starting out artist. Like if someone came up to me and was like, I need your help.
Sure. It's like, I'm making music. I don't know what to do to start.
I think that, and this is coming from, once again, from the other labels that I've talked to as well. You're never as good as you think you are. And it's okay to think that you're good. But just know that you can always learn, and there's always growth. And if you are humbled and you don't act like you know everything, you're going to get a lot farther. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of young artists have a chip on their shoulder, and those are the ones that die the fastest in the industry. They just don't make it. And the ones that are quiet kind of and in the background, they're the ones that come out of nowhere. And they're my favorite. I love underdogs. I love them. But I think that's the main thing, to be completely open-minded and take in everything that people are telling you. And it can be really hard because me coming from, alternative hip-hop, which is super weird, I may tell you something, but if your music is, rock and roll, it may not apply to you. But if you ever wanted to collab, which is the only way to make it, you may need to know what I'm telling you, So, and I'm not always right. I'm okay with being wrong. But, if you fully listen to people, if you fully listen to people and you accept what they're saying, they're going to have a lot of respect for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important thing. I think to always be open-minded and always say yes. Don't ever say no to anything. I don't care if you have 6 shows booked that night. Book another one.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, that little giggle interruption was Rosalind peeking
I know,
in the
she's
window.
Outside. She's my personal stalker. I love it.
Taking a good turn,
Okay.
where I start asking even broader, more metaphysical questions. I always start with, yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm not. What is the role of religion or spirituality in your life?
I would say it's everything, but I know people that are a lot more, religious than I am, so I can't really, but it plays a big role in everything that I do. I owe everything to God. He made me who I am, and he blesses me every single day with getting to do this. I would be nowhere. I was born with the ability to do everything that I've gotten here to do, and I've been through things, as everyone has, and my life has just been a product of things that are just so weird. And I'm glad that I, was placed where I was placed and put where I was put with all the talent and ability that I have. And, that doesn't just happen. And my relationship with God has been so strong since I found my way back to music. I actually quit music. I was a musician from the time I was 3 until I graduated high school, and my high school band director just ruined it. She was not my favorite. And, I went to college, and I felt kind of lost. And I started dating someone, which was super great. And it brought me back to that. Yeah. And, I started realizing that, his plan is just so much bigger than mine. And that's when, when I finally decided to listen to him and, let him kind of control, I was like, okay, I'm going to transfer schools now. And so I transferred into the music school, and in 2 years I've accomplished unimaginable. Like, if you would have asked me 2 years ago if I would be sitting here right now, it would be an absolute, laugh. Yeah. So there's no way that I would have progressed this quickly into everything if he hadn't been watching my back the entire way. Yeah. So, yeah, no, he's everything.
How has that perspective changed over time from whenever, I guess maybe whenever you had fallen out of your passion, and then now that you've gotten back in?
Well, at first, like most people that go through this, I didn't really know what was wrong, what was missing. To me, I was just in college getting a business degree, and everyone hates college. So, you love it, but you hate actually going to class. And so, to me, I thought it was just a normal thing. And then, I was doing a Bible study, actually, over a book called Uninvited. I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's about being a girl and feeling left out of things. And because at the time, I just felt like I was, looking in on my life. I wasn't really living it. And it brought so many things into perspective. And so I was like, at what point in my life did I feel me, like the most myself.
Yeah.
And in all reality, and I wish I was kidding, it was band camp. And I was like, that was so fun. And like the type of people that were there. And, you know, it was just like 700 musicians in one area. And it was so many creative, interesting people.
Yeah.
And I knew that that's when I was like the happiest. And I just knew that I needed to get back there as quickly as possible. And I transferred the next day. I did. I was 24 hours later, I applied for school and I got accepted and I was here.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty quick slap in the face. So
how did your, I guess, spiritual foundation begin? At what point in your life were you just, I mean, have you always been a believer, or how did that start?
So yeah, I was born and raised in the church. But like I said, my upbringing's been like weird. So I was born into the Methodist church, and at age 3, my parents got divorced. And for some reason, that was just not the church my mom wanted to be at. The rest of our family was there, but I think there's some underlying things there. I will never know. But we moved to the Baptist church. And then by the time I was 11, all of my best friends were at the Methodist church. So I went back and became a youth leader and stuff like that. And at the time, you know, I was like, oh, I believe in Jesus. He's my friend.
Sure.
But I didn't really get it. And, I mean, I was baptized and all kinds of things. And, you know, I was like, this makes sense. And then my brother died, my stepbrother. He committed suicide. And it was just crazy because we were all there. And when that happened, you know, seeing that and being around it just so close, death was not new. I've had, you know, my grandfather had passed away, my aunt had passed away. Death wasn't new to me, but to see it is different.
Yeah.
And I never really recovered from that. I went a little numb at that point in my life, and I never bounced back. And, you know, at that point, I was just like, this is one of those trials that, like, a lot of people don't have to go to, thank goodness. But I was just like, okay, well, you know, for some reason, this is my trial, and I need to figure this out. And it took me 2 or 3 years to get back to even, like, not being worried about losing people. I don't know why. It just shook me up. And, you know, and it left his son an orphan because 2 years prior to that, his wife had died. So there was just a lot that happened right there within about 4 years. Yeah. And people go one way or the other after an event like that. Yeah. And I'm glad I went the direction I did. But yeah, that was the point where I was just like, I need your help. And I mean, you put me here, so you got to help me get out of this. And he did. And so I have always, I mean, it's just always been a safe place since then. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's always a difference between whenever you're sort of raised in it and once you're like all the way in.
Yeah, there is. There's a big difference. Yeah. I mean, when you're raised in it, it's just like history, honestly. And that's the way I've always seen it. People that don't believe in Jesus and stuff like that, I mean, I'm sad for them. But, you know, I don't know how I would be if I wasn't raised in a way that I knew that it was, you know, like like that. To me, that just happened. Yeah. But some people, aren't raised that way.
Full disclosure, I'm an atheist.
So. Okay. That's fine.
But you can say anything. I just want to make that clear.
No, that's fine. A lot of my friends are atheists, actually. So that's not, it's so much more common than I realized because in my hometown, we're tiny, you know? So that's like, I'm sure it happens, but it's just not, nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
And when I went to college, I was like, oh my gosh, like everyone's out here doing this, And so I actually took a course overseas. I studied abroad and did a religious course over different religions and stuff like that. And I think all of them are so cool. Yeah. And that is where, people this is why I said what I said earlier. I'm not full, because I fully believe in Jesus and he's, my bestie. But, I also read about Muslim and Buddhism and I believe things that they believe too. Sure. And, I see the speculation and I understand science. So, there's a lot of questions that I have and there's a lot of things that go through my mind on a daily basis. But I think that, as long as you have love in your life and you're happy, then who am I? And I'm not that, I'm just not that person to judge. And I think that that's also another awesome thing about our generation is that we have the ability to sit 20 years ago, you and I sitting in this room together, believing the way that we do, we may have not been as friends as we are, but I'm totally open to whatever. And, I mean, just he was there for me and that's my story, but, it's not everybody's.
I didn't want to derail your thought process, but I guess the difference between whenever you're just kind of growing up in it and then whenever you're all the way in.
Yeah. And there is a difference because, that's earlier. When you're born and raised in it, it's just, like I said, it's like a history thing. Yeah. It's just like people talking about a war that happened. It's just there. And then people who weren't raised that way or weren't told about it, it's new and you don't think, I don't know. Your upbringing literally changes everything about you. And I have learned that, and it's hard because when you're from a small community and it's very closed-minded and very by the book, this is the way that it's going to be. Yeah. Even though I believe in Jesus and, I went to college and did all these things, I'm an outcast in my hometown. Because, for multiple reasons. But, I'm not normal enough for them. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Yeah. I'll just go somewhere else. I'm not worried about it. So, I completely, yeah.
And Jesus loves you anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So then how do you reach out to other people in what you do? And spiritually, I mean.
What do you mean? Reach out to them? To care for them?
Well, sure, but I guess whenever you I guess yes, to care for them.
If somebody's having a problem and they need my advice kind of thing?
Sure, yeah.
Well, I don't ever bring religion into that just because, a lot of my friends are, unless I know that they're, the way that I am, then I don't really bring it into it. But even then, I don't feel comfortable, because everybody's relationship with their religion is different. Yeah. So no matter who you believe in and what that, my journey is not the same as anybody else's. Right. So I don't, not that I have a problem talking about religion at all. I just, if somebody's upset and going through something, I don't want to bring up their relationship with God or with whoever. And so I just, I'm there as a person. And like I said earlier, I think that as long as you love, then you're fine. And so I don't ever cross out of that. As long as I approach them in a loving, caring way. Definitely. And, hopefully they're receptive of it. and it's hard for me. I'm not a very warm person. I'm really not. Some of my best friends, they try to corner me to hug me because I just won't. I just can't do it. It's not them, it's me. But I can't. I'm just not a touchy, and I'm not the love word is actually kind of bitter in my mouth. I don't even like it. I hate saying that word. But I just. If I'm coming to you in a way that is kind and loving, first of all, it's hard for me to be that way. I don't know what's wrong with me, but for some reason it
Nothing's
is.
wrong with you.
You know, it is, and so if I'm coming to you like that, it's because I seriously care about you, and that has nothing to do with, you know, my religion or anything like that. I think that's all character and the way that you're raised, and you as a person. And sometimes spiritual belief has a lot of influence on that, but you know, everybody's foundation is caring for people. That's just human nature. So that could be science. That could be something totally other than religion.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective a lot.
Yeah.
And then, how do you feel that? Of course, I always have to bring in politics.
Oh, Jesus.
Because
God,
it's very relevant.
Isn't it though?
So how has this sort of religious perspective in how it's utilized in politics and sort of affected how you feel about religion and it affecting politics?
I think that they should be totally separate, and I think that that's really hard to do because people are so involved in their emotions. But the way that politics is set out is to be emotionless, and I think that that's why people get so angry and stuff like that. Politics is business, and I hate that. But you know, that's just the way order and law works, and it's hard, but everybody's morals and everything else is so different that at the end of the day, there's got to just be the law, and stuff like that. And I think politics is all about that. And one person determining what's best for everyone is hard to do. And I don't agree with everything that happens with politics. I'm very opinionated about certain things. I worked in the Capitol for a little bit underneath a representative, and she was incredible. But I firsthand saw how, you know, passionate these people are, and how, you know, cutthroat it can really be in one of those legislation rooms. Like, it's crazy, and they're so passionate about the things that they do. And you know, my mom came to me the other. She's a teacher, so naturally this stuff gets brought up a lot. And she told me she called a couple of the representatives to complain about one of the bills that they passed. And I said, "Do you know that they voted yes?" And she was like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Do you know that those individuals that you called said yes?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Then why are you mad at them?" Because I mean, it's a group of people, and it's, you know, they're voting just like we do. And if you lose, you lose. So I have found that so many people don't even know how the system really works. And I'm a strong believer in if you didn't vote, you probably shouldn't talk about it. You know, and I'm not trying to be mean to anyone, but like the only voice that you have is that pencil and paper, and you didn't do it. You know, so I think that morals come in with voting and the way that these people are passionate about things, but you know, at the end of the day, it's what's best for everybody. And sometimes it doesn't benefit everybody, but I mean, we're all human. Everybody. It doesn't matter what position you're in. I don't care if you're the president or you're me. Like, it doesn't like he's a person, I'm a person, and and it's hard to differentiate everything. He's had different experiences than I have, but at the end of the day, you know, people make mistakes, people make errors, and it would be really hard, I think, to be
definitely
anywhere near that position. And it'd be hard to pick between, you know, religion and morals versus what's best for everyone. And so I feel for them on that.
Well, it's very interesting to have that perspective because it seems that more often now people don't know about how it works. So
I think that and this is not to bash people as a whole, but I think a lot of people get so involved and emotionally, attached to things that they don't even really fully understand that it's a waste of energy. I was laughing so hard the other day. I go to sporting events all the time. I love sports, but I enjoy watching fans more than I do watching the game because, even though it's pure entertainment and people are just they have absolutely nothing to do with the game. They will scream, they will yell, they will, and it's just like all at once. They'll all cheer at once, they'll all boo at once, and I'm just like, you guys are so funny.
Yeah.
Like, people are so funny just to watch, and, and I'm like, they're so upset. Like, some people actually legit cry in this stuff, and I'm like, guys. So, yeah, it's people are just, and I think that's awesome that we're so emotional and that we have the ability to feel the way that we do. But,
right.
Most of the time, the things that people get so worked up over, it has really, it doesn't really even affect them. So I think that that's the hardest part to watch, though. It's like, certain people getting so loud and upset about things. And I'm like, okay, but does he being gay have anything to do with you? No, it doesn't. So it's going to be okay. You will be fine. You know,
right.
That's my perspective on that.
Yeah. And then how do you help those without a voice? I mean, I can't vote. So how do you help those who don't have a voice, and how do those that don't have a voice try to?
Well, first and foremost, I think my biggest thing that I offer people, and I don't really compliment myself very often, so I don't really like saying this at all, but I always listen to everyone. And I think that that's like the strongest, positive thing about me, is that I listen to everyone. Like, I own the company, but, artists that I've never even met before, they can offer me advice about something, and I'll be like, sure, we can try that.
Cool.
And I always do it. And, whether it works or doesn't work, I know that I don't know everything. So I think that it's the biggest thing is no matter what kind of power you have, everyone has power. You should always listen to everyone. And I think, because there are so many different upbringings and so many different cultures and so many things that are happening and colliding right now, I think that meeting people of different upbringing is the most valuable thing that you can do. I think, yeah. I've traveled to like 14 different countries, and that has educated me in a way that you can't get here. Yeah. Seeing the world, and which is sometimes completely unattainable, but seeing different cultures and seeing the way that they are and we are, and that to me, just being open-minded, I think is the biggest way. And I think that if no matter who it is that's trying to talk to you, they deserve your attention. Yeah. And if you are a person that can't get anyone's attention, I would try talking to a different audience, because sometimes people go straight for who's in charge or who they think has the biggest say. And so, but I'm not a politician, but if you were to walk up and talk to me, I would listen. Sure. So I think that, getting to know your audience and who you're trying to get the message to, I think that's the biggest research, everything. I think that, finding a group of people that support you and your ideas is the biggest, no matter how big or small you are, no matter what your job, it doesn't matter. So that's what I would say. I would get numbers. Get people together.
Yeah. And then how do you treat others well? How do you make the world a better place yourself, or try to at least? Always with the difficult questions.
I hate talking about myself. because I feel like I'll say something and then somebody listening to this is going to roll their eyes and be like, yeah, right. But the way that I try to make things better, I accept everyone no matter what they've done. I have met people that have felonies, and I'm not going to lie to you, they're the coolest people. Like they may have done something, heinous. And I'm like, well, I mean, you were super nice to me. So, like, I can't say any,
Sure.
I may not trust you that much, but you're still, like, a really cool person. And, I've also met preachers that have done great things, and they're awesome too. So I think that my ability to literally just, whatever you are, is cool with me.
Yeah.
And that is the best thing to be right now, especially with the way everything in the world is lined up to be right now. I think that just my acceptance of others and my open-mindedness, because I know that I believe something, but, I'm all for you getting what you deserve and what you believe in. And if I can help you get that, then I'm going to. I mean, I may be broke as a joke, but I can paint or something for you. I'll do whatever you need.
Right.
So I would say that's my contribution to society.
Yeah. And then lastly, what advice do you have for people?
In general?
Yeah, just broader advice.
I'm going to sound like a total hippie, but I think that everyone should just love a little more and hate a little less. Yeah. I mean, that's so lame. But
It's not, though.
There's so much anger, and social media is such an easy avenue for that because, you're hiding. And I try so hard to put positive messages out. People don't really like it probably, but that's okay. And, but yeah, I've had some of the worst days of my life this year, but no one's ever seen me cry. No one's ever seen me. I'm always laughing and having a good time because I wouldn't know what to do if somebody else was crying in front of me. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to spread positivity no matter what. And I think that loving yourself enough to love others is really hard to do. And the more genuine you are about it, I think that's the advice I have. Just genuinely be authentic with everyone and love people. Don't hate so quickly.
Great. No, that's great advice.
Yeah.
Stephanie, thank you for doing this with me.
Of course. Thanks for inviting me. It was so fun. I was nervous. I was like, oh my God, a microphone. My voice, oh my God.
Well, this has been great. This has been an awesome conversation.
Thank you.
Where can we find your stuff or the things that you want other people to find?
Oh, okay. Well, I have Instagram for the label. It's Heller MG. And there's also a Facebook page. And it's I don't post a lot because I don't want to annoy people. But yeah, that is where to find me. Yeah.
And then some of the artists, just you don't have to like name every single one on the list.
I won't. You can find them through the label page if you're super interested. But yeah, Rosalind Zora Music, Sierra Brook Music, Trip G Official. Got to shout him out because he's always doing that, man. My Snapchat story, Trip G Official, Trip G Official. He's obnoxious. But yeah, those are three that are really good.
Awesome. Again, thank you for doing this. This
thank
has been great. This is like low-key me asking for advice for my own music, but at the same time, just great to hear about in general.
Yeah.
So I'm Santiago Ramones.
I'm Stefani Heller.
You can find all the stuff that I do on my website, santiagoramones.com.
Whoop, whoop.
I make music. And I also have this podcast. If you enjoy the podcast, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts or leave a comment if you're watching it or listening to it through YouTube. You can also just like contact me through my website and be like, hey, I didn't like that you said this thing. Or, hey, I love this person that they said this.
Yeah, tell me where I messed up, y'all. Tell me.
And just hearing any amount of feedback at all is excellent. So I always end my podcast with my 3 things. They shape my life philosophy. Those 3 things are: love never fails, it's going to be okay, I might be wrong.